Hello and welcome back to Raise a Glass. This is part 2 of our episode about Linkin Park and Needtobreathe. I'm Hunter Danson, and there's a cat on my lap.
Hi, Fiona. And I am Eric Linsela, and there's not a cat in my lap. Sadly, the door's closed, so our cat can't get in.
So, what is in your glass now, Eric?
Yeah, I'm proudly drinking a Rochester local beer. It's an Oktoberfest from Genesee Brewery, which
All right.
is kind of the big brewery in our area. Definitely worth it. I know you've been there before.
Yeah. I had some. I actually don't remember what I had.
Yep.
Pub food and beer.
Yep. Their pretzels are so good.
Yes, that's right. We did have a pretzel.
Not my favorite beer in Rochester, but it definitely kind of the most well known. How about you? Anything in your glass?
Yeah, I still got some of the Old Forester. It's pretty good.
Nice.
It's quite good with honey. I do have to say.
Okay, I'm smelling my microphone right now, trying to see if I can get a whiff of it from however many hundreds of miles we are apart. I can't. But I'm sure it's warming you up. Well,
Yep.
Hunter, we ended last episode, and I said I was going to ask you what you thought of Hands Held High when you got a chance to listen to it. We have now listened to it together, and so I can ask your hot take in less than a minute. Maybe you'll have less to say than that. What is your response? I just talked about it for like 20 minutes, and you have now listened to the song. Is what I say make sense? Did I overshoot it? Is it not a good song? Like, what are your thoughts?
No, it's to everything you said. Amen. It is worth it.
I had forgotten just how beautiful the intro to it is. It's a
Yeah.
you just feel like you've got a chorus there the whole time with you.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to that. I appreciate you.
welcome. Thank you for sharing it.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about Need to Breathe. Before we do, I'm going to say that I am pouring one out right now for stub toes and doorways that have a door that are just too high off the ground. Before our conversation, I got my toe stuck underneath the doorway on the way into this room, and I
Ouch.
like to the extent that I think I might lose a toenail. Like, it is like
Oh
already
no.
bruised. It still hurts over an hour and a half later. I am not a fan.
Oof.
I've come to think of this raise a glass or pouring out for something as our product review part of our show, where we
Oh,
review
okay.
products and or services that right, dishwashers, nail
Right,
clippers,
yes.
jugglers.
Doors. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you want to raise a glass to or pour one out for?
Um, I'm pouring one out for it's kind of scraping the bottom of the glass, but uh GPS watch reviews
Mm-hmm.
because my Garmin watch died, which is what I use to track all of my runs and bike rides and skiing and stuff. So I've been looking for a new one, and I've been looking on eBay to get a deal because Garmin watches are incredibly overpriced.
Okay.
Hope they don't come after me for saying that, but
Yeah, our
Doubt they listen,
20
but
viewers are really gonna go on strike and
yeah,
prevent Garmin from selling. I
we
think.
have we crossed 100 plays total
Really?
across all the episodes. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
I was pleasantly surprised. Surprised is not the right word, but never mind.
Shocked.
But it's really difficult to determine exactly what features you're gonna get in a watch because the reviews are all not organized very well, and
Mm,
even the ones that are, they'll tell you like the sticker price, but the used market is so weird with the prices that
mm-hmm.
fluctuate. Like Garmin Phoenixes, which are like their top of the line, like multi-sport watch, tend to hold their value a lot more. Even
Okay.
like 7-year-old watches can cost more on eBay than like 2-year-old watches. Um, and like they will tell you the battery life is hard to estimate. Their battery life estimates are
Mm-hmm.
not always correct, and and I tend to do a lot more research than I need to
What?
into these things. So
That's why I bought
yeah,
my
I'm
most
I'm
recent
just
watch
pouring
from
one
you.
out for like.
I actually have a watch, a Garmin watch. If you want to buy it back.
Oh,
Uh,
oh no.
I like it a lot though. So
Sorry.
no, I love it. I'm
Oh,
really
good.
enjoying it.
That's
So I also don't go on 6-hour runs or bike rides. So I'm not worried about the battery
right.
life.
Yeah.
I didn't use without using the tracking feature of this thing. I went for 4 days and it was without charging it, and it was still at 42%. So not really worried about that.
nice. That's a lot better than an Apple Watch.
Oh, and yeah, and I can like play and stop my music. I can do all sorts of things from this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're pretty nice. But I got kind of sucked into this whole like YouTube marketing thing, and I like start thinking I wanted a much nicer watch than I actually needed. Because YouTubers they get all the watches new, so they get everything top of the line, brand new. So they have a very different perspective on you know products than we do, and it's an even more insidious form of marketing than normal marketing.
So what I'm hearing
But
from you
I'm just pouring one out.
is Garmin, if you happen to hear this and want to get our thoughts on the Garmin Phoenix, we will not only gladly talk about it on our show, but we will do an entire episode where our story that we focus on is the story of a phoenix, and the ways phoenixes
Yes,
have been incorporated to
preferably
different literature.
a 7S Pro Solar. Yeah.
Solar, yes. That doesn't work as well into the mythology, but we can talk about. Oh yes, who is it that flew too close to the sun? Um,
Icarus.
Icarus. I kept wanting to say Oedipus. I was like, that's not right. Um,
No,
but,
he
anyways, that's not topic here.
arguably a worse fate for Oedipus.
Yeah. You're gonna kill your dad and marry your mom,
Yeah,
right?
gouge your own eyes
That's
out.
Oedipus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. His it's definitely that's a hunter story for you, right? We learned that last week. Full of
Yeah,
tragedy.
no, I do really like Oedipus
Three
Rex.
parts.
It's a good, yeah, it's a good read.
Yeah, I've read it a few times.
So on to Need to
Never
Breathe.
for my own enjoyment, only for courses. But on to Need to Breathe. Need to Breathe is a band that, as you're saying their name, you realize that you need to breathe because there's no space in any of the letters, and I have always spelled it wrong because I always give spaces, but it's like written like ancient Greek. Like there's no space. You just need to breathe as you're saying it. No breaths allowed.
Yeah, Need to Breathe.
Thought that was a yawn, but now I realize it was just a well placed breath.
Yeah. So, ha- have had you listened to Need to Breathe before this week?
Before this week or
Aside from
before I
their
knew
like
you?
popular songs.
I have listened to lots of Need to Breathe. Need to Breathe is one of your favorite artists, Hunter. Just like
Hmm.
you will read or watch or listen to things that I recommend, I will do the same. I might do it a little bit more slowly. Um, I have had Need to Breathe playlists as kind of background playlists when friends and family come over for the last,
Hmm.
I don't know, at least 2 or 3 years. Um, I want to go see them in concert with you. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
they're good in concert.
I really enjoy Need to Breathe. Um, I hadn't hit the point yet, or before this past week, where I was like really diving into all of the words. Um,
Hmm.
but as far as feeling like Need to Breathe is much more in line with what I would normally like lean towards when it comes to music. Just
Hmm.
music that kind of gets you moving, makes you feel good, has a double bass, or electric, but could definitely always handle a double bass. Um,
Hmm.
Something that it doesn't have a twang, but it like makes you feel like it might. That type of music. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, they're from they're a rock and roll band from South Carolina called Need to Breathe, and they kind of I don't know. The first time I heard them, I thought they were kind of a cross between like the Black Crows and the Black Keys, um, where they sort of have a southern rock feel, but they're also bluesy, um,
Yeah.
and they bring something unique to the table, which we'll talk about with the Heat. Um, I like it to their they have a unique sound, I think, especially with the Heat. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Did you listen to the album The Heat?
I listened to them both. And I was surprised that you chose The Heat instead of Rivers in the Wasteland as your primary one to talk about. Because I felt like Rivers in the Wasteland is more well known, or at least I know it better. I don't know if it actually is more well known. Um, but yeah, I mean, I re-listened to the
I
album a few times.
I believe that that's my cat. I believe that Rivers in the Wasteland they gained more popularity with Rivers in the Wasteland than the Heat. So in that way, Rivers in the Wasteland is I
Okay.
guess a more popular album.
Mm,
Um, I don't know for certain. I was also surprised that I chose the Heat, but I thought it would
okay.
be a more interesting one to talk about because the Heat is an album that I listen to over and over and over, and I keep coming back to it,
Mm,
and I couldn't exactly tell you why, because Rivers in the Wasteland is another album, and I mentioned that one because it has a lot of songs that I think is some of Need to Breathe's best songwriting. And I listened to Rivers in the Wasteland at a particular point in
mm-hmm.
my life when I was in China studying abroad, and I didn't have as much of a support system, and it was a very hard program.
Mm-hmm.
It's been described as like learning Chinese from a fire hose, um, and it's a
Makes
lot of
sense.
work.
That sounds accurate.
Yeah, but so it was tough. I mean, I'm really glad I did it, and it was really worthwhile. But it was hard, and I listened to Rivers in the Wasteland a lot because, in particular, the song "Wasteland," where he says, "In this wasteland where I'm living." there's a crack in the door filled with light, and it's all that I need to survive.
Yeah, I feel that.
And it's a beautiful song. Um, and it has Multiplied as well, and Rise Again, and just really good songs on it. But The Heat also has good songs. But as I was listening to it this week, I think, well, first I want to hear your reaction to The Heat before I taint it.
Okay. I got the chance to listen to this album a few times this week, and at least two times today. I think 2 times today. And I was listening to it in a different way than I have before. Right, instead of
Mm,
just listening to it, enjoy it, I was trying to like, man, like which song do I like the best? How do I connect with these songs? Or like which one is like sticks out to me? And
mm.
this is just a gold mine. Like both these albums are gold mines. I
Mm.
was like thinking more of like I was like, okay, maybe I should be thinking about which one I don't like. um it's it's really it's so rich. And I paid
Mm,
attention to songs like Signature of Divine like in a way that I
mm,
hadn't before. And
right.
the song that connected with me the most this time, which might be different if after I listen to it another 20 times. Yeah,
Mm,
it just this album again, also 2007, same year as Midnights to Midnight. Linkin
mm.
Park, the most calm Linkin Park, and the most intense Need to Breathe almost match up, but Linkin Park's still more intense, and which is just hilarious. Like, does that seem accurate? Is that
More or less,
okay? Yeah.
volume wise, yeah.
So the song that stuck out to me on this listen through was "Streets of Gold."
Mm,
I think some of it was the way the song intros is
mm,
I don't even know what the name of that type of singing that happens. Like it's almost like you're
mm.
listening to it through like a recording. You listen to a
Right,
recording of like a
yeah,
recording in the very beginning, and that just took me in a little bit more.
yeah,
Um, but then like the chorus, right? I want you to know I'm leaving to let you go, and someday we'll walk upon the streets of gold.
yeah.
Man, and I know. I mean, I'm assuming Need to Breathe is a Christian band, given the music they have. They're not like a Christian band like that does like Christian music, but they're like a band that is also Christian. I feel like, um, and
Yeah, I
is
have
that true?
uh, yeah, well, I have a long running pet peeve when people call Need to Breathe a Christian band because the band members are Christian, but they are not a worship music band. And
Yes, just like you
it's
too is not a
confusing. Yeah, yeah. And I'd say Need to Breathe is more in their lyrics, at least they're more directly Christian.
Mhm.
Like a song like Signature of Divine is a more direct one, but all their
Yeah.
songs aren't like that one. And but when they do those songs, they get a lot of airplay on like K-pop, or no, K-love, not K-pop.
I'm just envisioning a Korean pop version of some of these songs. I can't, but that would be
Yeah,
amazing. I would love to hear that.
yeah, that would be, yeah. But they get a lot of airtime on Christian radio stations, but I don't consider them to be a quote unquote like Christian genre music
Totally.
band because they have breakup songs, they have love songs, they have
Not every time there they talk about the other is the other God. Sometimes it could be
right,
about a truck. I mean, it's not in their case, but
or a tractor.
yeah. This song though, this city Streets of Gold, I just it is a song of hope. it kind of feels to me like right,
Yeah.
the in as time slipping away, as you know, maybe somebody you love is slipping away, um, you're not gonna. It won't be the last time. Right?
Hmm.
And the last three lines are the trouble with love is that it comes to an end. I've got a feeling I'm gonna find you again, just in a place where love can't die.
Yeah.
And I feel like it almost to me connects with what I was saying about Linkin Park, is Linkin Park diagnoses the problem
Mm.
and doesn't have Jesus. And here a song like this is saying, and this is the answer to that. This is the
Yeah.
hope that exists in the midst of your pain. And your pain is so real. And how
Hmm.
can we respond to that? This is this is not the end. Because if it is the end, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like nothing matters if this is the end. If this is not the end,
Mm.
all of a sudden, so many things have greater meaning and greater life and greater love.
Yeah. I tend to interpret that song in the light of, in the context of Jesus being taken up into heaven, and a sort of a song to the disciples of, you know,
Mm,
I'm leaving to let you go. And, Jesus says, I will leave you another
mm,
helper, um, who is in some ways better for you, even than just me being here in the flesh,
mm,
um, which is the Holy Spirit being in us. Um,
mm-hmm,
and and I think, but it is also a love song, which is what I kind of like about Need to Breathe, in that you can see their worldview in the lyrics, kind of in the way that you can see Tolkien's worldview in his stories. But when I think about this album in particular, I don't I think of it as a whole. Um, there are standout songs like Streets of Gold, and I think Washed by the Water for me is probably
oh,
the standout song, um, in terms of the songwriting. But I think the reason that I come back to this album as a whole, I never and never just pick and choose a song to listen to. I start from the beginning and I listen to the whole thing.
ooh, I like
And
that.
it it is the sound. It is the mixing and the production of the album. And I was listening to it on headphones, which these days I don't get a lot of chances to do that. Mostly I listen to music in the car, but listening on the headphones, there's just a lot of subtle things that they do with the sound, and
One thing I
I
love,
can't.
Hunter, is that you point out parts of music that, although I understand they exist, I don't even think of. Right? I played the bass for a long time. I played a lot of music, and I have never touched that side of it. And I also agree with everything you said, because this whole album just flows, and it feels like I don't- it feels like cool water rushing over you when you're hot. Like, does it make sense?
Yeah, I was talking about, uh what we were going to talk about with my wife, and I asked her, like, what album would she talk about, or and she mentioned, um how when she wants to relax or decompress, she listens to Bon Iver. And for me, I'd come back to this album because it has a nice little guitar, a nice little intro. Um, it's kind of quiet and serves as kind of an introduction to the band and to the album as a whole. Would you like to come out and see us? Would you like to answer the questions of what went wrong with women and men? Uh, would you like to come out and see us? But could you even spare the time? And this album, I will spare the time for this album because there's just so many little things, the little vocal harmonies that they add onto certain lines in songs. And I think a great example of the mixing and the production of how the mixing and the production adds to the album is the song Moving On, which does not have remarkable lyrics. If you just go and look up the lyrics, it's not, I mean, they're good, but they're not going to blow your mind. But the way that the song is mixed and recorded and the way that it crescendos is just, it's a song, it's a breakup song. So it's a song about getting over a love, and moving on with your life. And it starts out with very minimal elements, just like the vocals and I think a little bit of guitar, maybe. And then the bass comes in, and you can hear every element coming in, and it keeps crescendos. It keeps crescendoing and crescendoing until it gets to this chorus, and that has these overlapping um, refrains going through it, and it adds in horns too, um, to such a great
Mm.
effect. And it's just it's one of my favorite songs in the album, not necessarily for the writing, but just for the mixing and the feel of it is just like if you're going through something that you need to get over, this is the song uh, for me. Um, Moving on. And also I think like um, just We Could Run Away. I love that song. We Could
Ah.
Run Away.
Mm.
Um,
We can run away. Maybe we can change. Get back on our feet again. That's a good song. That's a very different approach to this album, and yeah, it makes so much sense. I feel like so rarely now in my life do I listen to an album from the start to the finish without putting it on scramble. And I think
mm,
this past week has pushed me and encouraged me to no, things are written in a specific order for a specific reason. Like, let
right.
the storyteller tell you the story in the order they want to tell it.
Yeah. Yeah, I my preferred way of listening to music is albums, and probably because of Pink Floyd, and just just listening to my dad's CD collection. Um, like if you
Yeah.
listen to Pink Floyd, you're really doing yourself a disservice if you just listen to some songs and shuffle it, because Pink Floyd really, they have the concept album. They invented the concept album. I don't know if they invented it, but they definitely perfected it. Um, it's meant to be listened to in succession, and I don't know. It's you get a fuller picture of the artist and what they're about. Um,
And you come to love some of the lesser known music. Like, there's
right?
no way Hands Held High would be one of my favorite songs if I just listened to the top Linkin Park music.
Yeah,
It would not make it up. And maybe once every 150 songs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, moving on is not. I don't think it's a very well known song, but it's one of my favorites because it's just so nice to listen to. It takes me on a ride every time. Mm.
Mm. Here's the thing I'm going to say, Hunter. That's a terrible intro to a statement. Thinking about the way that an album is meant to be listened through.
Mm.
One of the most recent Taylor Swift albums does that, with Cardigan. It's actually, as you listen through it, by the time you get to the end, you've put together, there are 3 songs that connect to each other that you're introduced to at different points in the album. And so by this third song, their characters from the other 2 songs are interacting in, like, you get kind of like different perspectives, and it just
Mm.
makes you feel like you're in on it,
Mm.
and you're kind of like, you feel like you're part of the inside crew, and are discovering something, which is something you can do when you really listen to an album from start to from cover to cover. Is you're discovering not only what's there but why it's there and what's being
Yeah.
communicated as a whole.
Mm.
So this isn't the only album you brought, though. You also brought Rivers in the Wasteland, which is 2014.
Yeah.
Why this? You talked a little bit about why you chose Heat instead, but Hunter, this is a well-known album from Needtobreathe. That makes it
Yeah.
almost mainstream as far as Needtobreathe is concerned. Why are you choosing something that's mainstream? That is not in line with who you
uh,
are.
yeah. I'm an original hipster, but I'm so hipster that sometimes I even like things that are somewhat popular. Only somewhat popular, though. So I could maintain my underground status.
Oh, Hunter dancing.
Like I said, I discovered this album in China at a time in my life when I uh, needed
Mm.
it and when I was relying on it. And I just kept listening to it even after I came back from China and got married. It is, I think it showcases how far Need to Breathe has come as a band because The Heat is an earlier album and it's a really good album. I think it shows their potential. But Rivers in the Wasteland, I think, is special because it came after a period when Need to Breathe was about to break up. Um, they went through some,
Mm.
as as far as I can gather from things that they've said in interviews and stuff, uh, some like pretty uh, intense fights between Bear and Bo Reinhardt, who are the 2 brothers who kind of front the band, write the song, most of the songs.
Mm.
Um, and they almost broke up when they were trying to make this album. And the song Brother was written by Bo for
Mm.
Bear. Uh, and
Wow. That's why it's so powerful.
it is, yeah, it is a song that I have listened to with tears thinking about some of the things that we have gone through um, in the past, and
Oh
it's
man,
just a
yeah.
song about being a brother and being a friend, and it's there's a great acoustic version of it. It's a live version that's really well done, and um, I had the song "Rise Again" as my ringtone for a long time. Oh, I know I'm gonna rise again. Not my
Mm.
ringtone, as my wake up alarm.
Hmm.
um, but it really is. It is a good song. And it's just an album that, for me, listening to it is like it's like the coronation of Aragorn after the Return of the King. Uh, it is just a moment of this band coming together after a really kind of rough period, and I think a lot of the songs reflect that, and this sort of joy that comes through in a lot of the songs and in the music. Um, and I think also in the live versions that they do of the songs, there's
Mm-hmm.
Live from the Woods Volume 1 is probably my favorite Need to Breathe album of all time. If I was going to pick one to listen to for the rest of time,
Mm.
probably be that one, just because, they're musicians. It really showcases how they're still iterating on their songs. They're doing new things. The live version of "Washed from the Water" sounds nothing like the recording, and like it is amazing. Uh, it really takes you on a ride,
Ooh.
and I mean, I love guitar solos, and they have lots of those, and um, but there's just so much joy in that album, and it's joy that is earned, and I think it really. They said they were going to name it Wasteland, but they ended up being able to name it Rivers in the Wasteland because, as to quote Bear Reinhardt, something new and fresh had happened to them, uh, and it's just if I was gonna try and choose a best album of Need to Breathe, it'd probably be that one. But I could talk about it a lot. I could gush
Have you ever
about it a
seen them
lot.
live, Hunter?
Yes, I've seen them live twice. Uh, First time was in Boise, at a old penitentiary, um, quarry, and it was pretty good. We were kind of far away, so you know it was cool. But the second time we saw them also in Boise at the Knitting Factory, which is this little, uh, really indoor space, um, and we had like standing seats, and we were like 30 feet from the stage. They were like standing there, like 30 feet from us, and Bear did uh, they did the song Wasteland, and Bear sort of like disappeared from the stage, and then he appeared in this like sequined vest in the crowd, and he was like walking through and like shaking hands and stuff, and he came around to us, and we made eye contact, and he gave me a bro hug. So I bro hugged Bear Reinhardt, which is I didn't I
No.
yeah, yeah, it was. I didn't wash my hand for a really long time.
That's amazing, Hunter. I love that.
I like to think that he saw my wife and I like singing along to all the songs and everything, like really passionate, because we knew all the words to everything that they were singing, and I like to think that he kind of like noticed us and gave me the bear hug. Probably he doesn't remember. I'm sure he doesn't, but it's it was really cool.
That is really cool. That's a sweet moment.
Yeah.
The context you gave is really helpful. The the album as a whole, Rivers in the Wasteland, is just it's an incredible album. I'm just kind of like looking through the list of all the songs right now, and I can just start singing pretty much every one of them. And I've listened to the album quite a few times, but not nearly as many times as you, but like multiplied, right? Your love
Yeah.
is like radiant diamonds bursting inside us. We cannot
Mm.
contain, and then obviously
Yeah.
Brother, and then even just the last song, Be More Hard and Less Attack. Like,
Oh
how
yeah.
funny is that? And yet is true. Like, it definitely is an idea of like, in 7 years, where have you come?
Yeah.
And 7 years from this date, let's see where we're at in our podcast.
Yeah. But there's a great line from More Heartless Attacks that I think about a lot in terms of politics, and it's just because I'm wrong, it doesn't make you right.
That is truth, if I ever heard it.
Mhm. It, I think that's what I appreciate. I love about Need to Breathe in their songwriting, which I think Rivers in the Wasteland really showcases their songwriting. Um, it's it's what I wish Christian, quote unquote, Christian music was. Because I'll clarify that. I mean, I
Hmm.
appreciate worship music and the directness of it and what it accomplishes in a corporate setting. Um, when you have a group of people praising God together, and that's what it is to me. That is the value that I find in it. And there are some good worship songs, but I miss the mystery that, unfortunately, a lot of contemporary Christian music, if the lyrics do not surprise me and they don't make me think, because they are tend to
Hmm.
be vague and about use ocean or water imagery and drowning and things that I've heard so many times, and um, it it's not bad. Um, and there are times in my life when I need that, but God is so much more than
Like
just the
radiant diamonds.
right. Yeah, like radiant diamonds. Like I'm not gonna hear that in a worship song, like because it's not quote unquote. It's not like it's not quote unquote like theologically sound, and like maybe this is a different conversation, but like I'm not saying that I like Need to Breathe because they're not theologically sound. I'm just trying to say it's kind of like what I was getting at with Tolkien, in that he's not really he doesn't he's not concerned with allegory. He's trying to get at something deeper that strikes at the mystery of life and uh, the depths of the heart. Who can sound the depths of the human heart? Uh, who can know them? And only God can. But Need to Breathe kind of gets at that sense of mystery and interacting with a God uh, who is God, who has existed before time and outside of time, and they also have songs about love and um, moving on in your life and living in this world, uh, and trying to make it through each day. Uh, and they just, they're called Need to Breathe, and it's listening to Need to Breathe is kind of like uh, it's kind of like it's like breathing. You know, you just need to do it. And for me, that's kind of what it's like. It's like what their songs sort of express is that kind of need, and they have a very kind of earnest sound, and a kind of like yearning to express what they need to express, um, be it a breakup song or uh, a worship song or something in between.
The only caveat I would like to add to what you said, Hunter, is that I do think they are theologically sound. I think they are covert in their language, not overt in their language, and are
Yeah.
musicians that are communicating what is it like to be a Christian who is living life versus a Christian who is living in a church. Maybe
Right.
that's not the right language, but uh, I think that they do a really good job of saying, hey, like, there's no reason we should remove ourselves from the world, because
Yeah.
living in the world doesn't mean you're living of it.
Hmm.
And that's what Jesus calls us, right? To live in the world, but don't live of it. And
Yeah.
their music is a breath of fresh air to that whole genre. And it's also music that's interesting to other people. You don't need to be Christian
Right.
to enjoy them. You don't
Right.
need to be Christian to enjoy Linkin Park. In fact, most people who are Christian don't enjoy Linkin Park. Um, and
It's a shame.
and yet you can be a Christian and a storyteller or an artist or a banker or a finance, whatever, and you can excel at what you do and live as a Christian witness. It is not a hidden fact that Needtobreathe is Christian.
Mm.
You listen to the words in their songs and you know it, even if you're not a Christian. Like, they're talking about this Yahweh God and they talk about God of mercy.
Yeah.
What is that about? It's not hidden, and it's not blast in your face. If you're not Christian, you're not allowed.
Hmm.
And that to me is a much more beautiful like story to tell, and much more beautiful and accurate retelling, or living of um, the story of Jesus's life, is one of relationship, one of real life experience that then points people to God, rather than one that says God and then says thanks for the food.
Yeah. Mm.
Got to be more heart and less attack.
More heart and less attack. Well, I have I did actually pre-record it, but I do have a medley based on "Washed by the Water." Um, I need to breathe that I can close this episode out with, and I forgot that. Well, I poured one out for my finger. Um, it's getting better now, but I I've been playing the ukulele because it's not as hard on the finger um, as the guitar. So this is a cover of "Washed by the Water" um, with on the ukulele. Daddy was a preacher. She was his wife. Just trying to make the world a little better, you know. Shine a light. When people started talking, just to hear their own voice. Those people try to accuse my father, say he made the wrong choice. And though it might be painful, you know the time will always tell. And those people have long since gone, my father never failed. Even when the rain falls, even when the flood starts rising, even when the storm comes, I am walls by the water. Even when the rain falls, even when the flood starts rising, even when the storm comes, I am walls by the water. Even when the earth crumbles under my feet, even when the ones I love turn around and crucify me, I won't ever, ever let you down. I won't fall, won't fall, I won't fall as long as you're around me. 'Cause you can't always get what you want. No, you can't always get what you want. Oh, you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime, oh, you just might find and get what you need. Hey, hey, and get what you need. You can't always get what you want. No, you can't always get what you want. Oh, you can't always get what you want. If you try sometimes, oh, you just might find and get what you need. What you need.